Good evening, everybody. My name is Daniel Lopez. I'm currently one of your city councilors. I actually am glad that I came tonight because it's nice to hear the current issues. You know, when you run for an office, you tend to hear a lot of the issues, but when you're actually sitting there and going every 2 weeks, you only hear the issues of the loudest group. So the reason that I decided to run for mayor is I want everybody's voice to be heard. I have a passion for talking to people and listening. And I feel that the citizens of Payette don't feel like they're heard. I feel like they feel like they're pushed off. I want to listen and I want to hear you. And that's why I'm running for mayor. As mayor, I want to create an environment that is inclusive to the councilors, the citizens, the staff. I don't want anybody to feel left out, and I want everybody to feel heard. And that's really it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Craig Jensen. Most of you know me here. And I'm going to have about another hour to try to convince you that I'm the best candidate for the mayor position. But I'm going to have to address an issue that has happened this election cycle. I've been involved in 3 different election cycles now. This is my 3rd one. And I have never seen so much rancor, innuendos, false narratives said not only about myself, but also the standing city councilors that are running for re-election. They have brought this up to my attention too. And I'm going to tell you something about that, is that lying is never acceptable. I don't care if you're running for mayor, running for city council, or talking to your neighbor across the fence. Innuendos and accusations that are not true are just not allowed. Now, I had some people say, well, that's just politics. Well, that's crap. I don't agree with that. I don't care if it's a card game or talking to your neighbor across the fence, any place else. That is just not allowed. You know, my dad told me a lot of things growing up. He had a lot of sayings. One saying, a lot of them I don't remember. Well, a couple of them I did. And one saying that he said, and you probably heard the first part of this, he said, if something sounds too good to be true, and then he added on that, he said, or if something sounds too bad to be true, then 99.9% of the time, it's not true. I think people, I'm going to try to be politically correct about this, I think people, a few people have been trying to sell snake oil to our citizens. And I just think that you need to, when you hear something like that, you need to say, okay, show me the facts. You know, let me see the documentation. You have the right. You have the right. You never have the right to be lied to. So I'm kind of on a soapbox here right now because I've never experienced this before. And one thing that I can tell you about myself and other city councilors that I've been on city council with before and in the present will say one thing about me is I'll always tell you the truth. Okay, that's what I was raised to do, and I don't care if it's on city council, I don't care if it's running a storage unit, I don't care if when I was your insurance agent, I sold you Farm Bureau insurance. You'll always find out that people say one thing is that I always tell the truth. So citizens, please, when somebody says something to you that doesn't seem to sound right or doesn't seem to be right, I'm sure Daniel will agree with me, then ask for the documentation. Ask for the proof. Okay, I see that. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox and say thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So, a question for both of you. Please mention a strength that qualifies you for this position. And Mr. Jensen, you might have already alluded to that about your truth-telling, so do you have anything to add to that? What is the strength that you have that qualifies you for this job?
Okay, I think that the strength that I possess, and I think people have seen this in the past, is that I have a way to get a group of people together, have them convalesce over the same problem, and then reach a consensus. I've always had a feeling and a belief that if you just talk about problems and never do anything about it, it's just rhetoric. If you gripe about things and never do anything to change it, it's just griping, and griping is easy. I mean, we see it all the time. Griping is very easy for people to do. To solve the problems is what the difficult part of it is, to get in there and do the work. So I've done it when I was in regards to the Kilbrew Miracle Field, the board of directors, the president of the board of directors. I did it when I was on the steering committee with Ray and some other city councilors for the Boys and Girls Club of Payette. I've also done it in regards to getting city councilors together and work on a problem together and be able to come up with a solution. I'm really good at bringing people together and solving problems. I think that if you just sit and talk about it, and downtown revitalization is one of those things. We sat and talked about it way too long. I don't blame you, Kent, on wanting to know what's going on and when is it going to happen. I feel the same way. And I've talked to Ray, and I am going to put some pressure on him because I'd like to have a steering committee before the end of the year so we can go over those drawings and do something about it. But that's one strength that I do have, is that I can get things done, and I've proven to do it again, and I promise you I'm going to do it as your mayor. Thank you.
For me, it's leadership. Leadership and management of resources. I lead people every day, and I manage resources every day in both of my businesses that I run. And I heard a lot of that is, doesn't that draw my time down? So in my leadership and my management experience, I've learned to delegate. One of the biggest things in my naval career is you learn to delegate. As you gain rank, you delegate down. But you still have to lead after you delegate. You still have to check and make sure things are being done properly. And so management and leadership is my strongest quality, I believe. And I'm going to just touch on the time thing. I hear a lot of people, do I have time to be your mayor? Do I have time to dedicate to the city of Payette? And I just built a house the last 7 months, and I dedicated a lot of time to it. I was away from my businesses, and I found out that I have some really good employees working for me and with me that are able to take care of those businesses and keep them profitable, because that's the whole point of a business. So I know I have the time for this, and I have the passion. And my management skills are going to help me get through that.
All right, thank you. So what is the main challenge that you foresee in this role as mayor?
I think that not necessarily a challenge as a role of the mayor, but I think the biggest challenge that we have facing us here in Payette is the lack of jobs. Now, I know it's a great place to live. I live here. I love it here. But we have lost jobs in the last couple of years. And I know some of it's COVID, but I'm not going to blame it all on COVID. We've lost a lot of businesses shut down, Hannigan's, and we've lost Dylan Boss. We lost Hideaway. So what we need to do, and what I plan on doing for my next 4 years, is there's a lot of resources out there from the Department of Commerce that helps us bring in incubator jobs, gives credits for different businesses in regards to startup fees, incentive taxes. You can waive taxes from the county commission depending on how many jobs are going to be built and how many jobs are going to be created and how much building and facilities are going to be built, the dollar amount. So I'm not going to soft soap it to you. We need to have more jobs here, because once we start losing our youth, then our town slowly dies. So my main emphasis is going to be that we are going to do the most that we can. And the other thing to think about too is it's not always just new companies moving in or new jobs, but we got to make sure that the present businesses that we have here, that we're doing whatever is possible in regards to our codes, regulations, resolutions, ordinances, to make sure that they can be profitable. Make sure that they will have a way to be able to expand their business and be able to grow. So it's not just always worrying about new businesses coming in, but it's taking care of the businesses that are already here. Because they're already here and they're maintaining their business here, and we got to make sure that we have things in place to help them grow. Then we got to make sure that people know about that. But if we have things in place that keeps them from growing, then we need to look at that hardcore in regards to a city. Make sure that we'll do whatever we can to make our present businesses be successful too.
I forgot the question.
I could answer it again.
No, forgot the question. Repeat the question for me.
So what do you see as the biggest challenge in your role as mayor if elected?
I think one of the biggest challenges that, as a mayor or as an incoming mayor, is changing the stigma. Payette has a stigma when it comes to new business. Payette's hard to deal with. That's what, you Google it. Payette's hard to do business in. My parents dealt with it for 20 years. I've been dealing with it since I got out of the Navy. I was part of it when I was a kid too. We gotta hear it. We need to create an environment that is conducive to business, an environment that says we want you to come to Payette. We're willing to work with you to come to Payette. We're still gonna have standards. We're still gonna have rules and regulations. But come and talk to us. Come and sit down at the table and let's figure out what we can do for you so we can have more commerce. If there's something that needs to be done on your commercial property, hey, let's sit down and have a round table on how can we get it done, rather than going in, and this happens too often, and once is too often, going in and saying, well, that's not going to happen. Why can't we figure out how it can happen?
All right, thank you.
Yes.
So the next question, as mayor, what specific policies will you enact to improve the transparency of city government?
That's a good question.
Transparency is key when it comes to city government. All too often in city government, it's wait till the reporter leaves and then start talking about the issues you want to talk about. And I found that out firsthand, and I hate it. We have to be honest with each other, just as human beings, and realize that there's problems. Realize that we have issues to fix, and the city does a good job at getting everything on our website. I think the gals that work at City Hall have that good transparency. But not everybody goes to the internet. I understand that. And I'm a 35-year-old candidate sitting up here saying that because I hear it a lot. Well, I don't go on the internet. I don't have Facebook. We use the water bills for transparency, for trying to inform people, but not everybody gets a water bill. So it's a problem when there isn't one outlet to get to everybody. But this isn't a policy, but this is a dream of mine, that everybody feels welcome and feels that they're wanted in all city meetings, all government meetings in the United States, and where you don't feel excluded.
I think that one thing that we can do that's really going to make a difference in regards to transparency is start holding more town hall meetings. And we as a city council decided that that's going to be a priority of ours. And I don't mean having something every 2 weeks or anything like that, but I think any time that we have something that's going to affect the majority of the citizens, that we need to have a town hall. And we need to have the citizens' input. Now, one thing that I have noticed about the citizens is that if you will inform them, and so I've done this as a city councilor, calling on them on the phone because a particular issue is going to cost them money. if you can inform the public about what you're doing and invite them to be part of the process, then I know the citizens of Payette will be willing to do that. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen in the Miracle Field. I've seen it happen at the Boys and Girls Club. I've seen it happen in the Kiwanis Youth Lodge, where we got the citizens behind us. But the biggest fear of all is the fear of the unknown. And I think the citizens deserve the right and have the right to know what this city government is doing. And I will welcome any citizens' input, and I welcome working with the citizens. I love working with the citizens because I see what happens when you do. When you work with the citizens and have them part of the plan with the city government, then you can accomplish anything. And I've seen it happen in this town, and I know you're out there. And I know that if you feel like you're welcome and invited, then you will participate with us being able to improve our city. Thank you.
So there were questions to the city council candidates regarding things for the teens to do in the community. There were some questions pointed to the mayoral candidates regarding bringing back the city of Payette to life. Do you have any specific projects, whether they be a skate park or softball fields, that you would feel would be a focus of what you would like to bring to Payette?
I think that's a great question. I'm glad that someone asked that. We have so much potential in the city of Payette. I mean, you got to realize that for a town of 7,500 people, we have a Harmon Kilburn Miracle Field. We have a Boys and Girls Club. We have 50 acres of parks. We have 2 rivers. We have a beautiful 18-hole golf course. We have a year-round swimming pool. We have so many amenities that we just don't sell to the public. And I think that if we can get together as a city and realize what the potential is that we have here, we got Kiwanis Park, which is one of the prettiest parks in the whole state of Idaho. It's a big park. We have a swimming pool in one end. We've got pickleball courts in the other end that needs to be resurfaced and redone, but we need to get those taken care of. We have a beautiful place to put a splash pad right next to the swimming pool. You got a little recreation area right in there. We have a creek that runs year-round through it. So we have the potential to really enhance Payette and the assets and the livability that we have in our city. So we've got the aspects there. We've got the assets there to make this a very enjoyable town. We just need to get in and do the work. You know, I know that people hear all the time when we talk. Well, I'm not a talker. I like to get things done. I like results. And there's so many things that we can do at the city with the citizens' buy-in and the city council's buy-in, and it costs money. You know, so we're going to have to be able to be a city that goes after and gets grants on a regular basis. But we can really improve this city and the assets and the amenities that we have here. We already have a lot, but we can sure improve on that, and we need to do it. Thank you.
We do have a lot of amenities in Payette. One thing that I find issue with is something gets put in and then it's not taken care of. The skate park, for example, was put in when I was in high school, 2003-ish, I think, around there, early 2000s. And I don't think it got a facelift until after I got out of the Navy, when a group of citizens got together and decided to paint it, as far as I know. So we have to take care of the assets that we have. We have to budget for maintenance. We have to look at the long term of how to make all of these amenities have longevity, rather than get to the point of disrepair and we have to tear it out and get a grant to build something new in its place.
All right, thank you. So at this time, we're going to open up questions from the floor.
Hi, my name is Pam Burtis, and I've been a resident here for 7 years. I'm also a business owner. So my question is for you, Daniel. I kind of wrote it down here. My husband, who is unfortunately out of the state tonight, also served on a Payette planning committee with you. And on that committee, you stated several times that you wanted to improve the reputation of Payette. And you and I had a text conversation about the adult sex shop that wanted to come to Payette. And so I just did some research what that exactly means, because you and I had some different discussions on what that meant. And so definitions of that definitely include primarily retail sex paraphernalia, pornographic DVDs, magazines, sex toys, enhancements of products. So lots of different pornography things. I am a mental health therapist. I work with victims of sex crime, so I'm very passionate about this. And a study done by the University of California found that individuals who consume porn are more likely to support statements that promote abusive actions and aggressive sexual behavior toward women. In 2019, 406,970 women in the U.S. were raped or sexually assaulted. The Trafficking Victims Protection Act research shows the strong connection of porn and human trafficking. 99% of those trafficked individuals were women, and 21% of them were children. I understand that porn is readily available, but we do not have to bring it into our community and make it more readily available. And when I address that concern with you, here is your quote that you said to me. You said, when I pictured an adult store, because you at work, I know it was a zoning law issue, but you were in our conversations, you were one of them that were brought it up. You said, when I pictured an adult store, the last thing that came to mind is pornography. I thought about healthy sex education. This is what I see those businesses are doing. So you either didn't research this or you didn't care. So your statement is community first. So my first question to you is, how is having an adult sex store in our town putting community first? And my second question is, and how does that improve the reputation of Payette? If you look where sex stores are in the city, they're in the slums, they're in the low income. So how does adding a sex store to our town improve our reputation?
So I'll answer the second question first. The adult sex store that, when the council was conversing about changing a zoning law from adult shops being allowed in anything but industrial zoning, the adult store that I was thinking about would be Adam and Eve that's on Garrity Boulevard in Nampa. Very clean, very that. Like I explained to you in those texts, it's not that I'm for an adult sex store, I am for commerce. So I am not for stopping the progression of commerce through the proper alleys. When it came to the council to vote on changing the zoning law from industrial to allowing it in C commercial, there were multiple meetings before that that I spoke to. If this is going to happen, it has to have a solid ordinance. It can't just be allowed. You have to have rules and regulations with any business that you allow in the city. So it's not that I'm for an adult sex store or for pornography. For the record, I don't sell pornography in my convenience store, even though I can. It has been instilled in us from my parents that it's not something that we do. It's not something that you should make money off of. So that's my personal belief. But when it comes to the citizen or the city view, we can't just turn businesses away and say no. We need to allow them to go through the proper procedure, which is going through planning and zoning and going through public hearing. The citizens stand up and say, no, we don't want that, then planning and zoning will act accordingly. I just wasn't willing to squash it at the council level.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
I just just moved into your community about a month or so ago, and I've been very impressed with the people that I've met and those I've interacted with my grandchildren and that sort of thing, and I just want to thank you about that. But I do want to say one thing. I lived very close to the Kit Kat Club off of, yes, Black Cat, thank you. And we spent years trying to get rid of it. We finally accomplished that, but it took us years. If you let something in and we find, oh man, we're not sure we appreciate this kind of stuff in our neighborhoods, good luck getting it out.
All right. Then be cordial and respectful. All right. You have a question?
I kind of have a comment. Whoever created that billboard when you're coming over from Ontario that says, talks about Payette, the schools, the golf course, and the place to call home. As leaders, I hope that when we are, because we do need, businesses, we do need revitalization. I can agree with just about everything, almost everything that's been said tonight. But I think we have to, we should be looking at, as we're bringing these businesses in, are they reflecting that billboard that we are promoting as you come into Ontario, as you come into Payette? Because, even if it was an Adam and Eve store, is it family friendly? Do we have pride? Let's not sell out our community for, to make money, because we can see where money can, devastate a community because you're just trying to get something in. But to always just think of, is this good for the family? Is this a place to call home? Is this a business that can, we'd be proud of in our downtown area? And, there's no doubt, we all know as you bring in certain off-color businesses, there's no doubt the statistics are there of what it does. And so I would just be cautious in that as we do bring in new businesses, because I'm all for small businesses, but they've got to be the right ones and they've got to be family friendly. Thank you.
All right.
And actually, I'd like to address that comment if I could. Can I?
Sure, go ahead.
It shouldn't be the mayor's job to squash every business that's going to come into Payette that doesn't go through value, that doesn't align with our values. The mayor or the council should not be the ones making that decision. That's why we have planning and zoning, and then it goes through planning and zoning, public hearings, and then to the council for approval. My point in this whole debate over this adult sex shop is, any business coming to Payette needs to be able to go through the steps and have the due diligence done. Not that I wanted an adult sex shop, but that I want them to have due process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd like to also, Ken, just a second, I'd just like to address that also. The one thing that I saw that was wrong in Daniel's approach is he didn't listen to the citizens. Now, we're supposed to represent the citizens. We're not supposed to represent a particular business or particular group of people. We represent them all. And I knew right off the bat that the citizens did not want an adult bookstore in prime commercial. And we are supposed to represent the citizens. Now, I'm all for growth. And if we want to keep our youth here, we need to have more jobs. And 99% of the time, I would approve of business coming into Payette. But 1% of the time, I'm not going to approve a certain business in a particular area. We have a place for a bookstore. It's in industrial. Doesn't need to be in our prime commercial next to a play yard or next to a Burger King where all of our high school kids go to have lunch. Just like I wouldn't vote to have a tuna fish processing plant in our downtown Payette because it's just not the right place for it. Okay, but I'm all for growth, but you got to listen to the citizens. That's who you represent, and that's what I plan to do. And you spoke loud and clear. That's why I was against that.
So I'm going to rebut once on that. I didn't have citizens coming to me and telling me in person that they didn't want an adult sex store at that point. I heard about it as soon as it was going to planning and zoning, that we didn't want an adult store. So I listened to the citizens. Nobody told me.
Okay, here we go. Hey, so Daniel, I am very well aware of Mr. Jensen's plan. What's yours for downtown?
Kent, downtown is tough. It's been a talking point since I got out of the Navy. Downtown. The question with downtown is, who wants to pay for it? If we can't get this magical money from the federal government, which hopefully we can, we're going to work towards it, and I have every plan to work towards getting grant money. There are plenty of options that need to be explored when it comes to downtown, whether it's a business improvement district, whether if there's any other land or zoning use regulations out there that'll help. But when it comes to downtown, it's hard to do business in downtown Payette. One, the traffic flow, the parking. Those are issues that need to be addressed. When it comes to the downtown master plan, Kent, I don't know, because I haven't been a part of those committee meetings. And I wasn't invited, so I don't know.
Yeah, but you're a mayoral candidate, sir. You've got to know that downtown is an issue. Do you have any sort of plan to remedy that issue?
My plan would be long-term. My plan is long-term for anything that comes to fiscal matters, because fiscal responsibility is number one. We should have been saving for downtown for many years now to do these projects. We have to start saving money out of our budget so we don't have to take foregone taxes in order to just balance the current budget. And that's something that happened this year. It's something that shouldn't happen. We shouldn't keep a low levy rate just to take it later, and that's what foregone is. We have to start saving for our future to build for our future. If we don't start saving now, we won't have a future to build.
All right.
Gentlemen, I'll try to change the subject. I think we beat this one to death. The last month or so, I was at a city council meeting. We talked about vicious dogs. Pretty passionate conversation for probably an hour long, teary-eyed crowd and all the fun stuff. You know, I'm probably staring at $15,000, $20,000 worth of medical bills for my wife that was bitten by a dog. The new acting police chief said the reason that we don't pick up vicious dogs is because we don't have a place to put them. So my question is to you guys, are we going to put weapons in the citizens? I'm military trained, 9 years in the Army. I don't want to pick up my AR-15 and go down the street and shoot my neighbor's dog. That shouldn't be something I should have to do, okay? And I was basically encouraged to do that. And that's not a good thing. So my question is to you, are you going to enforce those ordinances? And are we going to pick up these vicious dogs and do something about it, guys? Thank you.
Rick, and I understand your situation with your wife. It was very unfortunate, and it was really unfortunate that it took killing a cat to finally pick up that dog and impound it. And I couldn't understand the reasoning that at all. But we do have an ordinance that says that they can pick up and impound a vicious dog. And I think we need to make sure that we put the clamps on that ordinance so that the wording is you will impound the dog when they bite someone off premises. And in regards to the storage of this dog, being able to place this dog somewhere, well, we're just going to have to work it out. And I've talked to the police chief about this. There's a place in Weiser that nobody even brought up that takes dogs. So I don't think we have a problem in regards to keeping those dogs when they're impounded. I think we need to change that ordinance, put teeth in it that says once a dog bites somebody on premises, is that they will be impounded. Because it was bad that those dogs got to stay in that residence and were able to not only but your wife, but also affected other neighbors. And I was just ashamed that it took the dog killing a cat before we decided to take action. It won't happen under my administration. Thanks.
We have to enforce ordinances that we have on the books. Rick, your dog incident was a lack of enforcement of ordinance. It was not that the ordinance wasn't strong enough. It was, as Chief Marshall said, that's just how we've been doing it. And so if we have the ordinance on the books, we have to enforce it. And if you choose me as mayor, we're gonna enforce our ordinances. Or I'm gonna encourage the council to get rid of the ordinance if we're not going to enforce it.
All right, next question.
All right, this one's for the future of Payette, our children that are in school. How would you guys encourage the community to support Payette athletics?
Community involvement is really it. Athletics in Payette, as far as I can remember, don't have a lot of support. But the few that are there are loud. I have nieces and nephews that are still in high school and still in sports, and we try to attend as many as we can. And I think if we can get better community cohesiveness, it'll help us in all areas, not just youth sports.
I just wanted to bring one more thing up about the dog ordinance. Sorry about that, but the way that the ordinance is written out gives the discretion to the officer whether to impound or not. I want to take that discretion away and say it will be impounded. That's what we need to change with that ordinance. Now, in regards to the schools, Lori Steinecker is a city councilor, and she brings up to our attention all the time about the schools and how much attention needs to be brought up about our schools and have a better connection between the city council, city of Payette, and the schools. And I think that's a wonderful idea. I think that if we can dedicate somebody on city council to be the liaison between the schools, whether it be grade school, middle school, or high school, and be able to show us what events they're having, what events that they need help on, and make it in our mind to always be privy to what the schools are doing and what the schools need to help, and always have that on top of our mind that we can do that and can help coordinate with the city council and make our schools more viable and make them more livable, make them be more appreciated. And I think we need to step up and do that because we really haven't. There really has been kind of a breakdown between the city council and the schools, and that needs to change because they benefit each other. You know, if we raise good students, then we have good citizens. If we can help bring life supporting jobs that you make a living wage on, then keep our youth in our communities. So it's a win-win situation when we get more involved in our schools, and that we need to do that as a city council. And I'm just as bad too, because I don't know what's going on all the time. But if we could get a liaison that keeps us abreast of what the schools are doing, invite the schools to come to our meetings more often and tell us what's going on, I think we can help. I think as a city council, we can help.
Thank you.
A couple of suggestions regarding the long term. Since 2000, there have been 2,000 new colleges established in the United States. Do we have anybody in our group actually looking at attracting an institution like that? Secondly, why not make Payette a sales tax free zone, the downtown area? Get some of those 200-300 Oregon business people who are sick and tired of the tyrants there to come over here.
Sarah, can I talk to you about a community college that's over in Ontario?
I'm gonna answer in regards to, I just got a sheet of paper from the Department of Commerce that Jerry Miller had sent me. Now, there's a lot of help out there if we just take advantage of it. There's a lot. Now, let me give you some examples that just the state of Idaho can do to help us. They have an Idaho Business Advantage. Businesses that invest at least $500,000 in new facilities and create at least 10 new jobs paying $40,000 annual plus benefits. They will qualify for an investment tax credit of up to 3.75% or 62% of their corporate income tax liability. New jobs tax credit from $1,500 to $3,000 for new jobs per employee that they'll give us credits. And they also give a real estate tax. I just know that also with the county that they also have a thing that if we have a new facility come in that over $500,000 and will create 20 or 30 jobs. I've been involved with this ourselves in regards to the motel. We go to the county commissioners and they have a way that we can reduce or waive property taxes for 5 years. Now that's huge. That's a huge incentive for people to come here. There's a tax reimbursement incentive. If they're paying high-paying jobs, that they can maximum credit of 30% on income, payroll, withholdings, and sales tax up to 15 years. So there are so many programs out there that we have not tapped into that we need to try to attack business here. I know I'm long-winded, but let me just a couple more. They have a rural community block grant that will for cities below 25,000 population. They get up to $350,000 in grants to help finance public infrastructure improvements. That's what we need for the downtown area. Then they also have the GEM grant that can go up to $50,000 to help public infrastructure improvements for downtown or any place else for business development. And that you can match it with 20% cash or in kind. We have enough equipment in our streets and our parks and our sewer and water department that we can always match the 20% in kind because we have the equipment at our possession to use. So these are just things that are out there just through the state of Idaho. And I'm not talking about the grants through the federal government, but these are things that we can tap into. If we want to get really serious about growing the business in Payette, we can do it. And I'm going to make a concerted effort in the last 4 years to make sure that we go after these things, that people know that we're wanting them here.
Sir, to my knowledge, nobody has tried to get a college to come to Payette.
That's not true.
There is TVCC across the river, I think that's one. The second question about taking away sales tax from a business district. I'm not 100% sure if that's legal for the state of Idaho, but I'll look into that. Because that'd be great.
Different communities in different states have competed that way across the river.
Really?
For years.
That's the first time I've ever heard of that.
There's a border thing. It's available.
I want one for my store. I'm just kidding. But just a caveat off of what Ray was saying over here reading these pamphlets. It's there are a lot of grants out there, but we have to allocate the resources to write grants, and we need to hire the right people and have them be able to be efficient and proficient in writing these grants, so we're not wasting tax dollars in writing for grants that we're never going to get. But we do have to try.
All right, one last question.
Thank you. I know both of you gentlemen. It's good to see you here. I've raised my kids here, and one of the biggest things I loved about this community was the pool. And all my kids' swim lessons, my kids taught swim lessons, they love the pool. The last 3 years, our pool has been practically non-existent. My son joined the Navy, had to pass a swim test, like an extreme swim test. He had to go to a call boat for 8 months to practice his swimming 3 days a week. I'm the cross-country coach here. I just had a kid qualify for state. He's got shin splints. I called the city today. The kid needs to be in there swimming so he doesn't get out of shape, so he can run at state this Saturday. The pool's closed. What can we do to keep our pool open and running all the time so we can enjoy it and our kids can learn to swim?
Build a new one.
Thank you. We have to maintain it. We have to spend the money and maintain the facilities we have. I actually just stopped in the pool the other day when Tiffany sent out an email saying that the boiler was on the fritz. That's why the pool's closed now, because the boiler completely broke, the boiler pump. And I asked her, because I don't know anything about boilers, I said, well, if we replace the motor, what does that cost? She says, the numbers that I remember, around $5,000. I said, okay, how much to replace the boiler? And how long is that going to last us? She said, well, to replace the boiler is about $25,000. I said, well, how long does it last? She said, I can't answer that. I said, well, those are the kind of questions we need answered. Because if we can invest $25,000 a day and save ourselves from being broke down seems like every 8 months, at least, then that's what we should be allocating our money, to save ourselves money in the long run. Maintain our facilities right. Don't just put a Band-Aid on.
Dwayne, I understand your frustration. It seems like the pool's, like you say, has been closed more, it's been open for the last couple of years. And it is an old pool, and it does require maintenance. The thing about it is that we have not taken the time to be able to make sure that the public knows when we're open or when we're closed. We need to be more, and I'm not gonna blame the pool manager for the boiler going out. This is a legitimate time for it to be closed. I mean, you can't keep the water warm, so you cannot have people use it. It's just too uncomfortable. But having said that though, we need to communicate better with you as the citizens and the rest of the city in regards to when we have problems with the pool and this goes down. You need to know that. You need to have a blast out there to let you know when it's going to happen. We need to manage the pool better. We need to manage it better. We need to sell it better. We need to have it open longer. We need to have more hours for the elderly. People to be able to do exercising. We don't have enough time for them to go out and exercise, not enough hours. They're too early. We don't have enough. So we got to sell our pool more and make it the asset that it actually is for our city, because how many cities do you know that have a year-round pool in this area or in any area that's close? There isn't any. We're the only one. And so we got to make sure that we sell that and that we make it a viable place for people to go and be able to use. And we can do it. We can do it. We just get our mindset in regards to what an asset we have, and then being able to let the rest of the public and the cities around us know that we're welcoming and we want you here. Thank you.
All right, thank you. This gentleman promised me one short last question.
Very short. There's been interest in the Payette pond over the years, and with everything going on because of COVID and everything, and the things that are fiscally responsible that we need to look into, where's your guys' take on possibly looking at fixing up the pond? There's been, talk about aerating it like what Weezer's got, and to be able to put more fish in there, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
I'm glad you asked that, because I'm an avid fisherman, and I love that pond down there. So I went and a couple years back, and I got Fish and Game, and I said, hey, listen, could you help us? Could you help us make this a more viable pond and make it so that we might be able to fish it year round and stock it more often? What I found out was, and it just broke my heart, is that it's too shallow. And they said, we're not going to put the money into it to make it deeper. Said if the city wants to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to do it, then we'll support you. But we won't take the time and the money to make that a viable fishing hole. That's why you only get stocked once or twice in the spring, because in the middle of the summer, because of the moss growth, is the oxygen leaves and the fish die anyway. So what I was thinking, and I'm still going to push this, is that I think there's another viable area next to the river that has a deeper pond, and that if I can get Fish and Game to come back and analyze that once they say there's a viable pond, they will put in the infrastructure, and they'll put in the money, and they will put in the fish to be able to make it a year-round pond. I agree that one in Weezer is beautiful, and it's a great place to take the kids, and it's a great place to take people that come into town. They say, hey, I can take you down, you'll be able to catch a fish here, which I like to do that. But we can do that, but that pond right there is not going to do it. They've already said that they won't put any money into that pond, but I sure would like to get with you later on and see about helping me try to figure out another area and I think I know where it's at, that we can be able to get Fish and Game to consider it a viable pond and help us make it into a year-round fishery.
just like with the pond and the greenbelt, it's an entity that we haven't been able to afford to keep up, to do upkeep on. We have to start saving money. We have to start taking money out of our budget and allocating it for future projects. We're not gonna get it all done in 1 year because there's not enough money. You see projects that we pushed off as a council. First projects that get pushed off are roads because they're the biggest item, easiest thing to cut. We have to, and this is as mayor, get down to the minutia in the budget and say, where can we cut back within your budget as a supervisor? Where can you cut back and where can we save money? So we can have that in the future to do big projects. As mayor, the mayor needs to sit down with staff and go over that, encourage that. The status quo of, you're good enough, we're good enough, it has to go.
All right, we did it. All right. Mr. Lopez, Mr. Jensen, thank you so much. And this was a great crowd tonight. Thank you all for turning out. And I see several of the council candidates and the 2 mayor candidates. If you have questions that weren't answered or you have other comments, I'm sure they would be more than welcome to stay and listen to you or answer your questions. So again, let's give a round of applause for Promote Payette. Thank you, Robin, for keeping the time. And thank you all for coming, and thank you, candidates. Safe travels and good night.
Thank you.